Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am going to do the Spider-Man No Way Home review, so if you have not watched it, go away. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. From here on out, spoiler city. Okay, so I loved this movie. I thought it was amazing from beginning to end. Um, I don't think it was perfect, but it was amazing. And the things that don't make it perfect are kind of minuscule because I think the excitement of watching something like this, you have an energy. And when you feel like something's slowing it down or kind of dragging a little bit, you kind of want those things to go away, right? So him continually trying to get the stain out of his spider suit, I was just kind of like, do we need this? Like, does this need to be in here? I get that it served a purpose for Aunt May and like part of her storyline a little bit. I don't think it was necessary, and I just felt like it was really dragging down the movie sometimes. There were other parts that just kind of really slowed stuff down, like the teachers building a memorial. Like, I know you want the people that were in the other movies to be in this movie. I 100% understand that. I don't think it was necessary. Peter should have walked up the stairs and had everyone staring at him. And I don't think we needed that comedic moment because it was more uncomfortable than anything. Just like, okay, let's get going. So I really felt like those type of moments really dragged the movie. There are things going around saying it's the greatest Marvel movie ever made. I disagree. It's the best Spider-Man movie ever made. No doubt. It's kind of up there with Into the Spider-Verse, right? Because you're getting multiple Spider-Men, you're getting multiple characters, and the story is great. I still think that, like, for me, Captain America Civil War or Infinity War are my top tier Marvel movies. And maybe I'll feel differently about it because I feel like Infinity War kind of became top tier after Endgame. I feel like the loss you felt in Infinity War is stronger after you watch Endgame because then you see how everything plays out. So it might change over time, but I do definitely think it's the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Don't come at me, please. It's just not the best Marvel movie. The things that obviously there's more things that I like than I disliked, and sometimes I'll just point out the things I dislike, and it'll just be random comments. The fan service that was in this movie, uh, we got to see Spider-Men converse with each other. And they were having those moments of like comparison and, only things that Spider-Man would have to deal with, like a web block. Like, literally, they can't talk to anybody about that. Having to manufacture their webs, they can't talk about that. Um, so them comparing web shooters, the villains that they've fought, the traumas that they've had, those those hit deep. Those really hit deep. Don't get emotional. And for the sake of distinction, I'm just going to call them by their regular names because Peter Parker 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to forget who 1 and 2 is because we know who 3 is because they made a joke about it. But I'm just going to say Tom, Toby, and Andrew. That might actually be the order of 1, 2, and 3. Oh. Tom talking to them like they're older brothers. Like even the little comment of like the web only comes out of your wrist, like that's something that I feel like a little brother would ask an older brother. The birds and the bees question, but in this case it's web shooters, right? And Toby was definitely the supportive big brother in the trio. Whether it was, helping Peter through his trauma after he lost Aunt May, which we'll get to, and also telling him that revenge in the way he sees it isn't going to make him feel better. But then also him kind of like bolstering Andrew. I'm sure Andrew feels like the redheaded stepchild of the Spider-Verse, and that's what I was calling him for weeks was, he's the middle child, he's the stepchild, he's, it's not that he's not wanted and he's not loved. There's just, he fought a guy that was in a metal rhino. They had aliens, and I get where he's coming from by not feeling like he's as significant enough as a Spider-Man. I know that he feels like he is not as good, and like, Tobey's Spider-Man pretty much being like, you were amazing, let's work on that self-talk. I just felt it was like such an older brother moment, and it's the one that like Andrew needed. And I really think that Andrew is the heart and soul of that trio. So I'm so happy that I watched The Amazing Spider-Man before going into this movie, because I was very staunch on my Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. And I love Tom Holland. Like he's my little spider baby. Like he's my little spider son. Um but after watching this movie and seeing those two, I think Andrew is my favorite Spider-Man. I think he is. I think he's my favorite Peter Parker. I'm gonna cry right now. He just was like such the heart and soul, the emotion when he caught MJ. Mm. How can I cry during a movie review is beyond me. Like just remembering the pain that he had when he lost Gwen, and the relief that he had when he caught MJ. And MJ actually, asking him, like, are you okay? And just the emotion that was in his voice and on his face. Like, I know that I said in The Amazing Spider-Man 1 that I thought he was a great Peter Parker. And I didn't think that he acted well when he had the mask on. And I think that that's why, is because Andrew acts with his face. Ruined my emotional moment. There we go. Okay. Andrew really acts with his face, and he's got expressive eyes. And that's what I really loved about his Peter Parker. And then the second Amazing Spider-Man, I got a more of a feel for him as Spider-Man, and I felt he did just a much better job of being Spider-Man in that movie. And then in this movie, they have a lot of scenes where they don't have masks on because you need to be able to tell who's who. Because I know only true Spider-Man fans know what suits which. I couldn't tell you. I didn't know it was Andrew jumping through that portal until I heard his voice, and then even then I was just like, I know that's not Tobey, but like I was just like waiting for him to take the mask off before I like took a breath again, where I was like, oh, it is him. Okay, cool. And then of course you see Tobey come through the portal, and I know people age, but I was like, wow, my Spider-Man got old. It's refreshing that they don't play teenagers and they're not kids for forever, right? And that they have like real issues like back pain. I feel them. I feel them on that. And I loved that moment of Andrew cracking Tobey's back and then actually discussing how hard it is on the body to be Spider-Man. So not all Spider-Men they all have quick healing, but they don't have full healing. So like if you can still have back pain and you're Spider-Man, you are doing some work. And I know it was also a throwback to when Tobey almost wasn't in the second Spider-Man movie because of his back issues. And I would say, no offense to Jake Gyllenhaal, but he still got to be in a Spider-Man movie. So, but I don't think he would be that great of a Spider-Man. And I think it's only because we've had 3 really amazing Spider-Man. Maybe he would be. I don't know. And I also like that they joked when they called him number 3 and him kind of saying that he wasn't the coolest Spider-Man, that Andrew acknowledged the fact that everyone kind of thought he was the third person on the totem pole for a long time of like, who's the better Spider-Man. Oh, he's not. He's my number 1. He's my number 1 now. How does this happen? How does this happen? Oh, I think it's just that relationship with Gwen. When they're on the roof of the school and you see that beautiful silhouette of Tobey and Andrew up on the roof, and like that looked like a picture from the comic book. I don't know if it's a picture from the comic book. It just looks like it belongs there. Them talking about their trauma and who they lost. Andrew lost Gwen and Captain Stacy, his parents, Uncle Ben. Tobey lost Harry and Norman, who were family to him. Doc Ock, who was like, his mentor. And Uncle Ben. Everyone lost Uncle Ben. Mm. And Tom lost his parents, Uncle Ben, Tony, Aunt May. You know, they've all had such a traumatic experience with loss and death. And speaking of Aunt May, Marissa Tomei, Marissa Tomei, to me is the best Aunt May. I think it's more realistic, given her age, to be Aunt May. And I love Sally Field, and Sally Field's an amazing actress. Don't get me wrong, she was very underutilized in those movies, so she could have been so much greater. And in Rosemary Harris, I just think she was too old to be utilized correctly. And I don't know what the age of Aunt May and Uncle Ben are in the comics, but I think it's more realistic to have that relationship be, maybe a gap of 30 years rather than a gap of like 50 years. I do feel like the older Aunt May and Uncle Ben are, the more of a grandparent relationship that should be. And even if they're great aunts, like it's still just, I feel like he would have to say great Aunt May instead of Aunt May. So definitely, I feel like Marissa Tomei is Aunt May to me, and she's such a wonderful actress, and that was such a beautiful moment. And Tom, oh, Tom kind of had his little Gwen Stacy moment where it was just pain, and he was so good and happy pulling up and seeing it and realizing what was going on and trying to distract so Peter could get away was just, it was beautiful, and it broke my heart for him to lose Aunt May. I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I thought maybe there's a possibility that they would kill off MJ, but I know that like they killed off Gwen. They probably weren't going to do that. I didn't really foresee them killing off Ned because I didn't think that that would have the emotional impact that would be needed, but I was not expecting Aunt May to die. Rest in peace. So, A2, fan service, fan service, fan service. Matt Murdock, my theater fucking erupted. And I just, because I do my reactions, I'm used to like reacting out loud. So when I'm in a theater, I have to like tamper that shit down. And I just was like, yes, like so loud. I think I scared the guy next to me because I don't think he expected little old me to like project that so much. It's like he never stopped playing Matt Murdock. It was a beautiful segue. Charlie Cox is so good. And even though it was such a small moment, it had great impact. Him having that daredevil catch of the brick through the window and Peter just being like shook. Like, not only are you blind, but you were quicker than me, and I have a Peter tingle. Andrew pointing out that he has a tingle, but didn't see bread as being dangerous. I really liked that they put that in there. Okay, so Ned being all magical and shit. I didn't see that coming. The fact that Doctor Strange had a hard time using the sling ring and he had to be put on the top of the Himalayas? Or is it Everest? Himalayas? Whatever. He was going to die on the top of that mountain if he did not open a portal. So his life literally had to be hanging in the balance in order for him to summon the power to use the sling ring. But Ned's just sitting at the dining room table going, oh, I wish I could find Peter. Oh, what was that? It was a little too convenient. Kind of like in Shang-Chi and Katie being able to shoot an arrow and taking down a dragon out of the sky. Plausible? No. Magical? Abso-fucking-lutely. I'm not mad at it. It's just not plausible. And for the record, I do kind of think that Jacob has aged a little too much to be playing a teenager. So if this is his last movie playing Ned, I think that's good because he's definitely not looking teenager-y to me anymore. Peter and MJ's kiss at the end. It was not as powerful, I think, as maybe they expected it to be with, the lighting and the music. it's no upside down kiss in the rain. And I love Peter and MJ, and I love Peter and Mary Jane, but they are no Peter and Gwen Stacy. I'm sorry. That is the love story. That is the Spider-Man legacy love story, are those two. I would love to have another movie with those two, but I know it's not plausible. It's probably not possible. It would never happen. But if it did, I'd watch that shit. You don't even have to swing from buildings. Just give me Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. I do think, though, that the loss of the relationship and the friendship, that, you know, MJ and Peter weren't going to have that bond anymore, I think that actually hurt me more than them not being a couple. He understood her. You know, she was wearing that little piece of the Black Dahlia necklace, and he understood who MJ was. And it seemed like maybe she didn't have a lot of that in life. And their little trio of Ned and MJ and Peter, you know, that it was so sad that they weren't going to remember him, and he was going to remember them. He was going to remember everything. I really wish Strange maybe had wiped his memory too, for a portion. That would have messed up the spell. So no. We're not going to change spells mid-spell. Let's talk about the villains. Again, so happy I watched The Amazing Spider-Man because I liked Electro. I didn't like his obsession with Spider-Man. I thought it was like kind of played out and a little hokey, which I didn't realize was actually part of the issue that people had with the movie, was because I guess Kevin Feige had told Sony, don't do that. And they did it anyway. And what a horrible use. What a horrible way for that character to be utilized. He got an arc reactor, so he was feeling it. I thought Jamie Foxx was great. I think Electro looked great. I think the effects looked amazing. I do really like the effects in The Amazing Spider-Man. I felt that the coloring of it was magical. Obviously, I like, you know, purples and blues because of, you know, that stuff. So, like, I really dug that vibe. I feel like Jamie Foxx was able to express the character a little bit better with a little bit more freedom. You know, obviously Jamie Foxx is a comedian first, so the comic relief that he gave was great. But also, you know, some of the emotion that you could see in him, I thought was also amazing. The cure at the end, in the moment he had with Andrew, I didn't realize that he never saw Andrew's face in the other movie. I didn't realize that until he was like, oh, I thought you were going to be a black guy because you're from Queens and you're cool. But we do know that there's a black Spider-Man. And I think the whole theater just started going, Miles, we're ready for him. Give us Miles Morales. And not just animated. Let's do this already, shall we? Sandman? I'm glad we got to see Thomas Hayden Church once he was cured, because I was just like, are we ever gonna like see his face? He was utilized well, but I'm glad they didn't use him as a main draw. He had a purpose, and I think that he got the screen time that he kind of deserved. And Toby being empathetic towards him about like, we're gonna get you home. I love those moments because it shows that there's always hope with Spider-Man. You know, that they always see the good in people. And I know Doctor Strange is ready to hit that button and send them all back and they were gonna die. And I truly loved that, even though Tom was like, it's not my responsibility, it's not my job, that he still did it anyway. And that the other two were ready to cure some ass, which is a really uncomfortable line when you say it out loud. The Lizard, he did serve a purpose. His evil self-talk was fantastic. I thought the animation with him, or the CGI, whatever we want to call that, I thought that it looked great. I do think that they purposely left him in the back of the truck to save money. Like, because obviously you don't want him walking around Happy's apartment with like Electro and Doc Ock. Like, I think it would end up actually being a little ridiculous to have him in those scenes. So him being left in the truck definitely was a convenience it definitely saved money on animation. I'm gonna throw that out there. And Connors is back. I don't know if he's still missing an arm. I didn't quite look at that. I was looking at his face, and it's Reese or whatever his name is, Rice. Well, you'd think I'd look it up. He's Kurt Connors. So my two favorite villains of the whole Spider-Verse, of course, I got Doc Ock. I always liked Doc Ock because he always still had a heart. And Alfred Molina is amazing at playing him. Alfred Molina is just a really great actor. And I'm glad that they cured him first. I'm glad, because then we got to see him separate from the machine and kind of become less Doc Ock and be Dr. Octavius. I really love the moment that he had with Toby, how there was like that long-awaited satisfaction of like knowing that like the student and the mentor, like that there was like still like a caring emotion there between the two of them. It was really nice to see. It really warmed my heart. I'm so happy we got these moments. I'm so happy we got those moments. But I do have a question, because he had the arc reactor in his hand, and I remember him saying, he's like, the power of the sun in my hand. Did he give that back? Like, does Doc Ock still have that? Are we gonna get Doc Ock in a movie with the arc reactor? I'm probably gonna go rewatch it, and it's not gonna be what I think it is. But, and lastly, Norman Osborn. Willem Dafoe is Norman Osborn. The Amazing Spider-Man, we got Chris Cooper for like, a whole 5 minutes. I don't think Chris Cooper should be Norman Osborn. There's only one person who can play Norman Osborn, and that is Willem Dafoe. He is such a great transitional actor where he can go from one character to another. And he can play endearing and innocent and confused and then go right into menacing. He is so brilliant, so brilliant. And the way he switches it on and off is just incredible. I really thought they were going to kill Tobey Maguire. That moment where he stops Tom from killing Norman, it was so powerful. The look in his eyes was so warm, but so strong, of like, you're going to regret this, stop. That was such a beautiful moment. And I don't really remember seeing Tobey in a lot of stuff lately, but he hasn't lost his edge. He hasn't lost it at all. And the moment he got stabbed, I gasped. Like, my theater, like, there's some people that were like, oh, and I was like, like, very projected. Like, I was like, no, do not kill off Tobey. And, they kind of played it off as just like, yeah, I've been stabbed before, and the sky's opening up, and he's like, am I dying, or is this really happening? I thought that was a really great way to, like, lighten that moment. Okay, so let's talk about Doctor Strange. I am glad he was not the main focus of this movie. There was a lot of focus on the spell and the magic from the Doctor Strange, movies, like the sling ring and him being stuck in the mirror dimension, which I will get to. It served a purpose. And we got, and as most of you know, at the end of the movie, we got a little mini trailer for the Multiverse of Madness. Let's not talk about that. Focus. I love that Wong was Sorcerer Supreme. I love it. I love it. Like, it would be very cliche to, like, egotistical doctor, the white guy, to be your main dude. And I love that it's Wong. I love it. And that's not like a race issue, but I just love that they could have gone cliche and they didn't. Fantastic. I love Wong. I love him. The broken spell bringing all the villains to Peter's universe, to Tom's universe. I was a little confused as to why they would focus on him and why it would make him the Peter Parker that they were after when the other two Peter Parkers still existed and they were brought into that universe as well. So was it that they were all after Tom's Peter Parker, or was it going to be that they were all after all the Peter Parkers? And were there more Peter Parkers roaming around New York City that we don't know about? I don't think that that was explained well enough. I don't know if it needs to be. Peter being able to trap Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension and steal his sling ring, probably not likely. Now, was Stephen pulling his punches because it was Peter? Probably. It was fun. It was fun to watch. It was fun to kind of see him best Strange. But did he have a plan on retrieving him? Like was he like, oh, we'll just open a portal, like a innocent teenager would? Like, oh, we'll just do what he does. I don't know if that was well thought out at all. It didn't feel well thought out. Just little bits and pieces that I'm kind of thinking of right now. I was wondering where Tom Hardy was and if we were going to get a Venom. I'm glad that they didn't put Venom in this movie. It would have really taken away, I think, from the moments the other villains needed to have and the moments that the other Spider-Man needed to have with those villains, because none of our heroes have faced that Venom. So it really wouldn't have made sense to have him fighting. So I really liked the after credit scene of him just having drinks and like really trying to digest the Avengers and the snap, and I thought it was a great comedic moment, but that he left a little dab, a little pool. Is it a piece of a symbiote? Is it a symbiote? Is it a symbiote because it is part of a symbiote? I don't know. He left a pile of goo behind. That sounds awful. It's like a snail trail. Interested to see where that goes. Happy not knowing who Peter was at the grave. Wow. And asking how he knew May. Great acting. Great acting with the both of them. Jon Favreau's not known for his acting, let's face it. He can make a mean Mandalorian series, but acting, he's all right. I thought that it was really good. I thought it was really good between the two of them. I'm glad they had that moment. Lastly, that three-way hug. We needed that. We needed that. I think they needed that, but we needed that. The splash pages that was created of them landing, of them swinging around the Statue of Liberty, of them fighting all the villains at one time, that silhouette of the two on the building looking down on Tom, that was some beautiful imagery. And I can't wait until, like, we can have that as wallpapers on our computers. Like, they need to get that out there, like posters. Like, there's going to be a kid that has that poster on his wall because, like, this is what he's been able to experience, is all these Spider-Men. And we had to wait years, right? Y'all huge Spider-Man fans have had to wait just decades for something like that. And there's going to be some 8-year-old kid who's just in love with all of them. And he's going to have that poster on his wall. And he's never going to know the pain that you guys felt waiting for it. I want to try to be included in that group, but I wasn't nearly as anxious as I think some people were. I've known many people who their favorite comic book character is Spider-Man, and this movie probably meant the most to them. So I'm happy that they got it. There are so many beautiful moments. Man. And kind of also to tag on the end here is that Peter being on his own, having to sew his own suits, living in his own apartment, it feels like Spider-Man now. The MCU allowed us to enjoy him mixing in with other characters, but him being alone is very Spider-Man-ish, very Spider-Verse-ish, very much like the comics. And I don't read the comics. I just know that that's the Peter Parker that we need, swinging through New York City, just on his own. We may be getting a non-MCU-ish Spider-Man. It's nice to watch him interact with other characters, but now that he's been erased from their memories, he gets to just be Spider-Man, not the next Tony Stark, not the next Iron Man, you know, not the guy that fought Captain America, or, there's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man. There isn't going to be any of that, which kind of makes me sad because I feel like Peter and Shang-Chi would probably have a great comedic relationship. I think that, and like, who knows, he could still end up working with them and have a brand new relationship. I'm not sure if Sony would allow that, but I definitely think that that would be really cool. But at the same time, I don't know if we need it. I don't know if we need it. I just think that Simu and Tom would be thick as thieves. They would just be great friends. Okay, guys, that is my Spider-Man review. I'm actually surprised I didn't cry more. I definitely, writing down my notes, I felt myself get really emotional about Peter and Gwen again, and about Aunt May, and about the three-way hug, and seeing Toby again after all these years, and seeing Andrew after falling in love with him 2 weeks ago. Just to put a little bow on it, I think he's my favorite Spider-Man. I apologize to Andrew Garfield for treating him poorly and not watching his movies, because now he's my favorite. But I just enjoyed every bit of this, and I can't wait for the Multiverse of Madness. I am looking forward to some amazing Wanda action, Doctor Strange action, Evil Strange action. There was a wedding shot with Christine, and then there was also the shot of like the inky, drippy skyline cityscape. So I don't know if What If is canon and it's going to be part of that, or if it's because it's the multiverse, if we're going to flash to one thing or the other. But the fact that we got Evil Strange in the trailer took my breath away. Anyway, this isn't about Doctor Strange. This is about Spider-Man. I can't wait to go see it again. I'm probably going to go see it over Christmas. I'm going to give it a little bit of time, let it marinate a little bit. I have been somebody, I think I went and saw The Force Awakens 5 times in the first 7 days that it was out. I saw Endgame. I saw Endgame probably at least 4 times in the theater. Like, I'm one of those people that will repeatedly go back because I think the theater experience is the experience. But maybe we'll do a watch along in the future. And I thoroughly enjoy talking to you guys about it. I've learned so much from you. I expect to learn more. You know what to do if I misspoke, or if I didn't see something, or if there's a storyline that maybe I didn't know about, let me know. I thoroughly enjoy talking to you guys about this. It's so much fun. But I'll see ya.